everybody, how are you? I'm your host Tony Visco, and we are going to do some painting for pleasure this time around. We're going to do a water scene, a sea scene. What I'm going to do is combine this photo, which I have right here, which is nothing more than some shore and a home and some grass and so forth, seagrass and rocks, with a little bit more action in the water coming in, so that it has more of a breaking sea into the shore. And I got a couple of people in here, but nonetheless we're going to do this, and we're going to do this wet into wet. I'm going to tape it down right now, and so that we can see the style and how we're going to handle this. I just roughed it out. We'll put this up here, and hopefully it'll be a successful painting. We'll have a little bit of action in the water coming in. We will do a little bit of landscape here, shore. Hopefully put some people in, and we'll get going. Now what I'm going to do again is, and this time we're going to do this, I'm going to do this painting loose. I'm going to attempt to do it wet into wet, very loose. So I need to get a couple of paper towels over here, which I'm doing right now. A couple of my Viva paper towels that I'm putting right here. And we'll wet the paper. I'll take my wide brush, come in here and get some water. Let's pour some water in here and get it wet and get it nice and wet. So we'll give this a shot, see what happens. And again, this is just a lesson into wet in wet, and wet into wet with everything. Now again, I'm going to do this all wet into wet, so we're going to wet everything. And we're going to do this almost like a wet abstract. I mean, I don't know how else to say this, but it's abstract realism. With a wet paper like this, what's going to end up happening is that the water is going to saturate all of the pigment. I'm sorry, it's going to saturate all of the fibers of the paper. I do tend to ramble sometimes, don't I, guys? All right. So let's get this nice and saturated. And you know, it's interesting. This is 100% rag, cotton fiber, acid-free. And you've seen me, or you've tried to put on a lot of water on paper that is mechanical. This is a handmade piece right now. But you've tried, I've seen you do this in the past, use papers that are mechanical pressed papers that are not as good, not handmade, and they'll actually physically curl way up. This is thoroughly saturated, and yeah, it's coming up at me, but it's certainly not curling way up. And that's because of the construction of the paper. The paper is a handmade paper as opposed to a mechanical paper. It's 140 pound, acid-free. It's 100% rag, cotton, fibered paper, neutral PS. So, it's wet. Now, we're just going to let it set for a bit. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to mix up some pigment, but the pigment is not going to be saturated. It's not going to be, I don't want to say this. We're not going to mix up pigment that is really wet. I want a little bit more consistency in the pigment, more like cream as opposed to butter, or as opposed to water. Okay, so more like cream, creamy consistency. And I'm going to start off with my cobalt blue, and I'm mixing my cobalt blue, and I'm going to take, in this case, and I'm going to mix here's my cobalt blue right here. I've got to actually, because I've got a little bit of yellow in here, it's getting a little bit on the yellow side, but here's my cobalt blue. And what I'm going to actually do here is take the water out of my brush, take a little bit of lavender. I want to mix a little bit of lavender in here. I want the blue to be more on the lavender side of blue. See what I'm talking about? And I want it more the consistency of what I have right here. So when I put it in, when I start to do this, and I'm going to do some of the sky, it's not going to flow. It's going to soften up, but it's not going to flow everywhere. This is still a little bit too wet, so we'll let it set up a bit. I want a little bit more. Now again, a little bit of cobalt blue, a little bit of lavender, the combination of the mixture of the two. More the consistency of cream, and I'm coming in here and I'm creating some interesting clouds, right? Billowy clouds that are coming down. Let's come down here with some. And as I come across this way a little bit more, I'm going to get less, I want less pigment as I come across and more water. So here, what we'll do is we'll pick up less pigment, let it flow with a little bit more water, and we're going to end up doing some a little bit lighter areas of cloud. So now what I'm going to do is, as I have this, I want to add a little bit of my burnt sienna in here. All right, now just a touch of burnt sienna. See what I'm doing? A little touch of burnt sienna. I want to get it a little bit more on the grayish side, because what I'm looking to do is to add to this here. But I want to get more of a, I'm not going to call them thunder clouds, but like rainy clouds, stuff that's a little bit grayer in certain areas. All right, now what I'm doing is I'm taking pigment from here, putting it down, trying to get it a little thicker, not as much water, a little bit thicker and grayer. And what I want to do is, again, remove the water from my brush, pick up the pigment, and give myself, well, let's see, maybe a little bit grayer cloud there, and maybe coming down along this landmass that's over here, maybe a little bit of gray here too. Right? So we've got some light areas and some dark areas, okay? And this is just very much, a little bit of, take the water out of my brush, my can going back, and I'm just lightening some of this area here. Maybe add a little bit of something here. Not too totally dark, but I am going to come in here, get a little bit more of my burnt sienna in here, okay, and a little bit more of my cobalt blue. See that? Getting grayer. All right, grayer. Grayer on the blue side. And as I'm doing this, you watch, I'm getting a little bit grayer on the blue side. All right, and a little bit thicker pigment with a little bit less water. And we're going to start to do my landmass out here. A little bit too wet still. Let's get it a little bit thicker by adding pigment, a little stronger pigment. Okay, now watch, see, see the mixture? It's on the gray side. I want it on the blue-gray side. Take the water, let's do this, take the water out of the brush. And we're going to again come in here and start to put in Now this is going to be land, so I'm just basically going to work around this. A little bit of land there. And I'm going to, as I go over to the other side, I'm going to add, again, you can see what I'm doing, a little darker, a little richer, a little less water. I got homes over here. It's almost like clouds right there, okay? And we're going to come around to the other side. And we have this beautiful landmass that's coming across here. And let's even get a little bit more interesting in that landmass. Now that landmass is a little bit more on the brownish side over there. Not heavily brown, but a little bit more on the brown. So what I did is I just took a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow ochre, combining that, okay? And again, I'm just going to add a touch of blue, but this time I'm going to add a touch of French ultramarine blue. Again, trying to keep this thick, neutral, darker, a little darker pigment. Adding a bit here and there. I'm going to try and my desk, actually the other thing I'm going to try to do here is keep my head from going into the painting. So okay. We have a lighthouse. And I'm gonna have to come down here. Now you notice what I'm doing. Let me get my maul stick because I don't want to do too much here in terms of putting my fingers in here. But I want this lighthouse over here. Got a hair that's coming off my brush here. And I want this lighthouse here. No, that's spreading too much. Still spreading too much. Gotta let it dry a bit. So this is landmass. I know it looks like clouds, but see if I can get rid of that. Oh, well, we're gonna turn them into rocks, my friend. Well, I guess we'll just turn them into rocks. It's paint landed on, flakes of paint landing in there. All right. So I have what I have here is I have a wall. And I'm going to take that wall I'm adding my cobalt blue. To I'm adding the cobalt blue to a little bit of alizarin crimson. Okay, a little bit of alizarin crimson, a little bit of cobalt blue, nice and thick. And again, two things. Keep my hair out of the camera. And just, this is my, I have a seawall right here. Remember, this is wet. All right. A little bit of seawall. And we're going to come down here and go into the grass. And the rocks. Little yellow ochre. I'm going to take now using a little bit of cerulean blue here. A little bit of yellow ochre, cerulean blue. A little bit of cerulean blue. Now we're going to end up probably even making it, let's change it up a bit. What I did is I just took a little cerulean blue, added new gamboge to it. You get a bit of an emerald greenish kind of look in all of this. And what I'm doing is I'm going to just basically come down Hold on, guys. I've got some paint on my hand, so let me just be back with you in a second. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm actually running some watery the mixture of my new gamboge and cerulean blue in here a bit. We'll change it up a bit, but to give you some idea, I had to move that out of the way because I was getting my hand here in my paint. Now, let's again go back and get the water out of the brush and load up pigment more like pigment I'm going to use. Yellow ochre. No, never mind, not yellow ochre. But definitely a little bit of cerulean blue. And let's see what now again, my hand is this way, right? See, so the brush is down. And what I'm doing is I'm just coming in here and working the grass so it's doing this. And probably it might even be better to do this with a flatter brush. So let's just try that. Let's just get a flat brush. Because this might work a little bit better with a flat brush. So again, wet the brush, take the water out of the brush, come in here, pick up some pigment. And let's come down here and there you go. Okay. And let's see, the grass is here, so the grass is all down on this area here as well. A little bit of water. And change it up a bit. A little bit more lighter over here with my new gamboge. Okay. Now, with that being done, let's get some. Let's go back here and pick up a little bit of my lavender mixed in here. And let's come down here and do something like this. Okay, so we've got this sort of peninsula that's coming in here. A little water, take it out of your brush, come back over here where the wharf is, and we're going to come across. Let's get, okay, and we're going to do the same thing with the landmass out here, because it's dried enough. Alright. Let's get a little fresh water. A little bit of water. Coming back over here. Coming across, just letting it dry enough so that you can come in here and pull some of that out. Right, and do that. We're going to go right across the same way over here. We're going to do the same thing. A little bit of water. Alrighty. So, we've got something going on in terms of our landmass. I need a nice bright area right here on top of that wharf. And we got some land going on over there. My lighthouse. Okay, that's the lighthouse. We'll do some detailed stuff later, but so just give you an idea as to how I want to handle this. Now I'm going to end up pulling some light areas in here. With my brush, a little clear water, and I'm going to come in here, add a little bit of water to take some of this out. I'm going to come over here and get a little bit darker. Skip it. Change it up a bit. Alright. The same way with this over here, maybe my little landmass here. Alright, so let's get this pretty burnt sienna. What I'm now doing is I'm mixing a little bit of my opera in with my burnt sienna. Okay, a little bit of opera, and I'm going to go opera and a little bit of my Naples yellow, guys. This is my beach. Okay, a couple of people walking along the shore. Same way with what's going on out here. Got a landmass that's there, some dirt that comes out here, a couple of rocks in there, and this area out here as well. All right, so you can see what's happening. I've got a variety of things that are going on, lights and darks. Now what we have to do here is come in, we have to just bring our water in here, and we're going to leave our house out there. I'll put that in later on, but we're going to come in here and put our landmass in there, and have the water come in and just nicely break in here. So we need some water, so what I'm going to do is I need to get clean water, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, so let's take and re-wet this area here, because this is where our water is going to be. So let's just take and re-wet it. Water is going to come into the shore, and then we'll put our rocks in after we put the water in. So we're wetting all of this area. We're wetting around here. I got some, like I said, I got some people in there. And what we want to do is we want to create breaking waves in here, but we also want out in this area. We need to get out here with some strong blue. Now, remember what we used up here? we used cobalt blue, didn't we? We used cobalt blue and what? A little bit of lavender. Now we're going to use cobalt blue, and we're going to use a little bit of. We need that to be darker out. We want this to be a little darker out here, so I'm going to add a little bit of French ultramarine blue to my cobalt blue. And this is wet. All I'm going to do is I'm going to just come across here so that we have some nice, a nice strong sort of color coming in here. Okay? And what I'm doing is I'm just adding water. Because remember, what do we say? We want this to be breaking. We want this to be coming in from this side and then breaking in here. So in order for me to create sudsy-like, a sudsy appearance, I guess, you know, foamy appearance of water breaking, and I want it loose. I don't want. I'm not interested in structuring the waves so much as leaving some of the area dry so that when it comes in here, it'll give me the general impression or feeling that there's foam coming in, water coming in, playing around. Now I gotta let that set up. Remember, this is one of these paintings that I'm doing here that are relatively loose. A lot of rocks in this area too. So what we can do is we can get a small brush, a small dagger brush here, small round brush, small dagger brush. And start to create some rocks. So I'm going to get some dark rocks. So we're going to make them. The dark rocks are going to be burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue. Not a lot of water. This is going to be more pigment than water. All right. French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, more pigment than water. Let's see. And we want these dark rocks. These are just marks that I'm making out there, but they'll turn into rocks. A little bit of lavender mixed into this. Look at this. We don't want those as dark. Again, creating the illusion. We're not painting it so much. We're not doing detail work here. We're just creating the illusion of these rocks. And we don't want them all, we want them to vary in value. We need to vary them in value. So we need some of them lighter, some of them darker. And we have some over here. Maybe a rock here. And some light areas, maybe one here too. A little darker. What I'm doing is I'm mixing up some darks and lights. I mean, making they're gray-like, I guess. If nothing else, they're gray-like on the horizon. You know, you need some darks and lights to break it up. I want to get this landmass a little bit more landmassy, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, but we have this sort of some of the trees. Let's go right around this property here. Go around my house. And the same way with over here. Okay, a little bit of green, a little bit of I added a little bit of burnt sienna in there too. You see, there's a little bit of brown, a little bit of green. It's my stone pier over here. And again, all I'm trying to do here is create the illusion. I don't want to create anything other than an illusion of a pier. I'm not. This is not a tight painting. I just want to create the illusion that there's something going on out there, a pier with a house on it. We need a little bit of I'm taking a little bit of alizarin crimson and I'm adding it to the wetness over here. around this individual. These kids are playing. I got some kids that are playing in the water here. As the waves, as these waves are breaking in. Let's get this nice and dark here. So we got some rocks, got some water coming in. We got that, put that strong green, you gotta try to kill that. Alright, got a nice feeling to it. I have I think what I did is I made this a little bit, I'm gonna wash, let me take some of this stuff out here. Make this a little bit softer. All I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of water, softening that up. Okay, we're taking a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of alizarin crimson, or actually Naples yellow, a little bit of Naples yellow, and added to this. And we want this fairly, let's get a little bit of blue in here. So that we coat a little bit of this in the foreground here is the water coming up on the beach. All right. Wet. Water into water. Well, water actually is not into water here. I'm just putting water into this area to change up the value a little bit here. Okay. So while we let this all sort of play, just touching that up a bit. We go back out in this area here and just going to end up popping a little bit of a lighthouse out there. Just trying to create a shape here. It's an interesting shape that'll give us at least the general feeling of a lighthouse. Okay? Okay. Okay. This is my little lighthouse out there. We also have a home. A house that's sitting here. And we're going to make the roof a little bit on the sort of red side. All right. Okay. Now, in order for that to stand out, this has to be darker. In order for this to stand out. blue's darker. Okay. Okay, same way with this. Got a few things that are going on out here. All right. Make this a little bit nice and dark. Okay. Again, what we're looking at is just an illusion. Let's get the feeling of some additional waves breaking right here. Just get the feeling of additional waves breaking right here. Alright. Just what we're using is darker pigment. That's all we're doing. It's just a little bit darker pigment. Pigment that is consistent more with cream or butter. Waves are breaking. We want the feeling that waves are breaking on the shore, but we don't want to just do don't want to do too much. So what I did is I'm just bringing my brush across and skipping. Yeah. Some of that stuff. So you just sort of get the general feeling. Nothing. Again, this is not. It's not a situation where we're trying to actually physically draw the waves. What we're trying to do is to create the illusion that waves are breaking. Right. That's all we're doing. And I'm just doing nothing more than using my combination of cobalt blue and lavender in here. That's all I'm doing. Okay. Just trying to get that and a little bit of alizarin crimson. All right. Oop. See that? Too wet. Way too wet. I want it nice and, I want it dry. They're rocks, guys. I want the rocks over there, but I don't want them too strong. I want more strength over here and the rocks that are down here. So again, burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue, making my darks. A little group of rocks here. Maybe some light stuff over here, just indicating some stones or just a little bit of area. Maybe what we can do is do this, actually, and splatter. There you go. That's what I want to do. Splatter some texture in there. To create the illusion of a stony, light stony surface over there. Look at that thing. Now this is the green. What I'm doing is this is basically creating grassy texture using my greens as well. And I did my underpainting. This is okay. Now let's see what I can do for these little kitties. Let's get my so a little bit of taking a little bit of my lavender, my opera, and I'm going to mix that with my Naples yellow. Okay. A little bit of Naples yellow, a little bit of opera. Let's go over here and just paint the heads of these little kids. It's not dry enough. This one probably should be. A little more pigment in this, probably right there. And we got an adult right here that's okay. And leg of an adult. Legs of kids. And right there. So how much, what do we really need to say kids here? Let's say the little, let's say the little guy, one of them's got a pair of maybe red shorts. Okay, and maybe, let's say this other little guy here has got a little pair of darker shorts. Okay, nice light shirt. And maybe we'll just do a yellow, I don't know. Yellow slicker on this. I don't know. There you go. And throw some hair on the that person there, and maybe a little bit of how about that? All right, close enough. So you got a mom and a couple of little kitties over there. Okay. Now, we need to do some removal. We need to do some removal. I don't know if we can remove this. Let's see. Let's take a little bit of water and make some of this a little bit lighter out here. This water. Okay, good. All right, so we got the solution of little kids playing in the surf. All right. Not much, just enough. Light here, light here. Some light values over there. Let's lighten this up a little bit here. All right. Cool, cool, cool. I think we're good. Green around the rocks. Anchor those. Okay, a little bit more brown. A little bit interesting. Let me see if I can just, I don't know if I can do this, but can I throw a little bit more brilliance into some of the sand here? And maybe some of that. I think we're done. I think we're done. I think I'm gonna let this dry a little bit. And just what I'm doing right now is just enhancing linearly, just enhancing some of this stuff. A little bit of dry brush. Okay, so you want to create, again, this is just, we're creating the illusion of waves breaking the illusion of waves breaking. What am I doing? Just coming up under here and putting a little bit of shadow under those legs. It looks like what I did is I lost my leg here. This is... Oh, it's all right. Just make, tell you what we'll do is just make it appear pants. Okay. Right. Enough. I'm trying to kill it now. I'm trying to do it too much and it's just not working. See? Enough, Tony, enough. Okay. So, we got a little bit of wave action over here. I'll let it go. Check it in about a couple of hours, and if it looks good, we'll call it a painting. Thank you, and I'll be right back. Decided to just do a couple more little things here. I'm going to clean up. This is just a little touching up here. So if I'm going to do the tops of those rocks, I'm going to do the tops of these rocks. I want a little bit of light on them. shadows on that side. Maybe a little bit of just lightening up some of these so that I get a little bit more character. And so we'll just lighten up the top. I didn't want to do this. I wasn't going to make this that. I don't want to say this. I wasn't going to make this this tight. Now I'm tightening it up. I wanted to keep this even looser than I've got right here, but I keep falling back to some standard stuff. I think we all do this. You know, we sort of we get accustomed to painting a certain way. Let's get that nice and light there. And the only other thing I want to do is, if I can do this, I don't know. I'm going to try to do this because this looks like I'm tearing up. Looks like I'm tearing up some of the paper. This is still wet. Probably have to let this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to let that really dry good. And go back and lighten up the face of this house, the front of this house. Okay, I guess that's it. Look at this. Okay. So, get this pier in here. Not that we really need it. All right. Okay. Done. Is it done? We'll see. Is it done? I just threw a little bit of I'm going to put just a touch of cerulean blue in here with a little bit of, as it comes into the shore, probably it should be a little bit lighter. All right. All right, all right. See you later. Okay, so I looked and I think everything is okay. I'm gonna leave it as is. I just put a little highlight over here. That's all I really did. So that's it for now. Thank you for being with me. I hope that you had an enjoyable time and got something out of this. This is my little, I'm not gonna call it a seascape, but it's an inlet. Sort of fabricated, as I said. So again, thank you for being with me. I'm your host, Tony Visco. We'll see you next time.